stretch. You can put it.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all natural USDA prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you see their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignons, and, of course, the king of all, the ribeye. In fact, I had a big tomahawk yesterday. We'll get back to that later. Even the gourmet Angus and Wagyu beef burgers are likely to be the best you've ever had. For more information, contact UppercutChops.com at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's www.uppercutchops.com. An astounding round of applause for the best steaks this side of the pond. And a big welcome in everybody listening in and watching on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. KCAA, our NBC News, CNBC financial affiliate over in Southern California. Everybody else, thanks for tuning us. Even right here in Las Vegas, Magic 97.9 FM. And hello to our friends on Hotel Television and Cox Comcast Spectrum Frontier Wild Cable affiliates. We're here with the Hall of Famer. That would be Mike Jabinski. And Mike, of course, always a pleasure having you on the show.
Sal, always good to be with you. Hope you're doing well. I am down in Tallahassee today. I've got Clemson at Florida State. Should be game where somebody's needing to get back on the right track. Clemson's lost 5 of 6. Florida State's lost 6 in a row.
Well, look, all they have to do is play our beloved team up in North Carolina, and something tells me, well, unfortunately, that Florida State team has a chance to get a W, that's for sure, and an astounding round of boos for that. It just, for whatever reason, we talked about this before. I don't get it, but either way, I mean, Clemson just took it on the chin from Duke, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Duke needed a bounce-back game. What's going to happen with this Clemson and Florida State scenario?
For Florida State, I mean, they've lost 3 guys to injury, and Caleb Mills isn't playing tonight, their best player left standing. In that situation, 1 or 2 games you can hold on, but, this being the 7th game, basically playing without 3 starters and upperclassmen too, going to be really tough for them. And Clemson they've hit a stretch where their perimeter is not scoring. And, we talked to Brad Brownell today, their coach at shoot-around, and, they've been making 5-6 threes in a game, and that's not going to do it for them. They've got to make 10-plus threes to be competitive, and they just haven't been getting that.
Well, what about the defensive side of the ball? I mean, there's a lot more to the story, isn't there?
Well, and, Clemson can defend. They can grind you down. Both of these teams, historically, under their coaches, have been very good defensive teams. But this year, under Leonard Hamilton, Florida State has not been the defensive team that they've been in years past, even when completely healthy. So, that has certainly been their biggest issue in the ACC season is their lack of defense.
But, we're seeing that ACC-wide for the most part, aren't we?
Yeah, you look at it, and there is a separation, and that was a big win for Virginia Tech last night, beating Virginia. But there's a separation at the top, and right now I think you X out Virginia. You got Duke, Notre Dame, Miami, Wake Forest, and North Carolina, probably the 5 teams that are going to get into the NCAA tournament. But what they're fighting for right now, Sal, is to be the top 4 in the regular season to get the double bye into the quarterfinals in the ACC tournament.
Right. And, as the ACC eventually will add more teams, those double byes come in awfully handy. Where do you think we're going to end up with 16 teams, 20 teams in the ACC? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm looking at 5 right now. I think the only way for the rest of that group to get in is to win the tournament. You look at the regular season records, they're not really good. Teams didn't play great non-conference schedules. So all those things work against you. And, like I said, that separation has already occurred. And outside of somebody making a 4-game run or a 5-game run, in Brooklyn this year, I think that field is pretty well set.
So let's take the ACC in general. As the conferences, I mean, look, we're seeing some changes with the SEC. We're going to see them with the Big 12. Is the ACC going to follow and expand the conference?
Well, it's so hard to see, would they fill out to get, 16 teams in, whether they follow the SEC path. I really don't know where we're headed with the expansion. I don't know how big these Big Five conferences could get. And also the thing is, Sal, at what point do they expand to the point where they walk away from the NCAA and start their own deal and say, all right, we've got 5 conferences, we've got 24 teams in each one, and this is our field, and we're going to go forward with that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. At 24, you end up with 6 4s or 4 6s, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go at 20, you end up with 5 4s or 4 5s, right? Yeah. Because it's obviously going to be 4 5s. But my point is with this, to your point, back to potentially the NCAA just going away is what we could be looking at here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of money at stake for everybody with the way it's configured now. But imagine what the number would be like if you pare that down to just those 25 super conferences with 120 teams in it. I think that's what the presidents and that's what the ADs are looking at. That hey, we can really consolidate, make the pie a lot smaller for everybody.
Yeah, and I think just in the ACC, I think of Notre Dame being in the ACC for basketball, everything else except football. At what point does the ACC say, you know what, Notre Dame, you're either all in or you're not in?
I think it's coming soon. I really believe that in talking to the people up and around there, and not the people who are going to make the final decision. But I would think in the next 3 years or so that Notre Dame will come in as a football member. I don't think they'll leave because of that. I think they see the value of being a part of one of the conferences as a full member. That's everything football. I mean, let's face it, full member means football and basketball right now, with football being the main driver.
Right. And well, it would only stand to reason that since they're situated right in the heart of the Big Ten, that they would have done something there. I scratched my head, growing up 2 hours away from there saying, well, how come they're not in the Big Ten? I asked my father 100 times and he gave me 100 answers. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, we talked about, dividing things up. This was a program that got used to having their own TV deal. They didn't have to share.
The Notre Dame Broadcasting Company. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't have to share it with anybody. So I think there's been that's been tough to cut the strings there. And, to get used to being a part of a conference where there's, we're sharing some revenue. That's probably been the biggest sticking point.
And the funny thing about it is they get an extra bonus if they make the Final Four when it comes to football, right? If they make the college football playoff, they get a bonus on top of the conference bonus on top. So they actually get to double dip, which seems remarkably unfair to all the other schools out there.
Yeah, and you know what, too, Sal? I mean, looking at it, when you talk about where this is going, I really think the SEC is going to be the driver in this whole thing because they have been out in front of virtually everybody else. So I think they're going to decide what the final number is in their conference and then let everybody play catch up.
Yeah, well, the Pac-12 always seems to be trailing in everything when it comes to making decisions on the conference side because they can't seem to make a decision and run with it on their own. They always have to dance to the beat of somebody else, which is rather indicative. I've lived in California for years and years and years. It's rather indicative of the California lifestyle, period. It's just how I see it. I don't know what it is, man, but it's a passive everything. And then you almost have to have an iron shield on your back because you never know how many daggers are going to come at you.
My theory on that, Sal, is that the world, in this country, everything revolves around prime time on East Coast time. 8 o'clock East Coast time is the driver. That's just the way it is. And, the NCAA starts late in the finals. They start at 9:20 at night to include their audience out on the West Coast. But I think that's a reason why they've got to be reactive, because all the decisions are made by East Coast time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And of course, this is the kind of analysis that we can expect from the Hall of Famer, Mike Kaminsky. That's why he's paid the big bucks. All right, folks, we're going to be back here with Mike in just a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a few minutes.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. Again, that's 800-361-3491.
AMP, the multi-format network, is here to help create, produce, distribute, and sell your content. For more information, send a message to info@aamp.tv. That's info@aamp.tv.
Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea, the American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com, or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do. And you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
800-908-7016. 800-908-7016. 800-908-7016. That's 800-908-7016.
I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. This segment brought to you in part by Curry Leaf, flavors of India, fine Indian cuisine. Check them out at curryleafvegas.com. Have a look at that menu. Boy, there's some good food there. I eat there every week just because I can. curryleafvegas.com. Go ahead and check out the menu there, or give them a call for reservations at 702-527-7977, 702-527-7977. They're over off the corner of Fort Apache Road and Tropicana on the west side of Las Vegas. That's Curry Leaf, fine Indian cuisine. Oh, yeah. Boy, that's some good stuff. Well, I went there the other day and really fattened up. Boy, that's some good stuff. All right, folks. Back here with the Hall of Famer, Mike Cheminsky. A big welcome back to everybody listening in everywhere. Leave it like that. All right. Oh, by the way, Mike, you're wearing a handy-dandy shirt from a company called Rebound. Why don't you tell everybody about Rebound?
Yes, Rebound was instrumental. I went into rehab in July of 2020 for alcohol, and spent my inpatient time there. It's located down in Lake Worth, Florida. Owned by Jason Williams, and basically was able to recapture my life. Had gone in a bad way and decided that I was going to self-medicate my way through some really tough times in life, and that didn't turn out well. But fortunately, my son Noah had an intervention for me, got me down to Florida, and as a matter of fact, yesterday was 19 months sober for me. So Rebound's a very special place. You can find them there. They've got an Instagram page on Rebound, the number 4 Life. And also on there, there's an 8772 Rebound is the number. So, if you've got a family member who has an issue, I've done a bunch of podcasts talking about my recovery and have tried to be very transparent with it. But the place down there is fabulous, and I've actually worked there as a therapist last summer.
It's all good stuff. And that's Rebound. Was the number again? What was the phone number?
8772 Rebound.
8772 Rebound. All right, that's wonderful. We always like those feel-good stories. In the break, we were talking a little bit about DeMar DeRozan, right? The Chicago Bulls. I think the Bulls are a couple of players away from finding themselves in the winner's circle. I mean, it's been since 1998, but that was the Bulls and Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and the gang, and they're playing against Karl Malone and John Stockton. We had John Stockton on the show last week. John's a great guy, and I have to ask you this: with playing against a guy like John, I mean, we've all heard stories. And I asked John how he felt about Grayson Allen. I think Grayson's game is a lot like John's game, as it was. I like the game. It's a gritty game. It's a little questionable at times. But what do you think about that statement? Do you think that Grayson is a player kind of similar in some of his characteristics and the way he plays the game to John Stockton?
With John. If you think back to Utah's offense and the way, especially in the half court, I mean, he and Malone on the break were, unbelievable.
Right.
But in the half court, John did a lot of interior screening, coming down off the high, make a pass to the wing and screen across for a big, whether Malone or one of their centers. And he used to set a vicious screen. I mean, you think for a guy that size, but you'd feel it, and wasn't always completely legal. But when the referee,
I'm sure the guys like you too. Come on.
But that's the thing. When they see a guy like that setting a screen, they'll give him a lot of latitude. Plus, you can't switch that interchange. I mean, the guy guarding him can't take Karl Malone or whoever's coming across the lane. So it was a wonderfully crafted offense, and John really sacrificed. He was a very physical player, even though how he's not the biggest guy in the world. I'd say I'm different. I mean, Grayson Allen with the whole tripping thing. I just think he's a guy that just kind of annoys people to no end. John, I think, really had the respect of everybody in the league.
Yeah, and that's why I asked the question, because I think some parts of Grayson's game, I mean, he's that physical guy that'll get out there and he'll mix it up. And I love that about Grayson's game. I don't like the tripping and the cheap shots. That stuff I don't like. I just like the physicality of his game, because I think the NBA has really lost that flavor, really lost those guys that'll get in there and really mix it up and antagonize a little bit.
Well, you know that our alma mater is famous for putting out people who love to hate them. And, you know, it might have started with Danny Ferry back in the 80s and then gone on to Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley. You know. So, I mean, Grayson's just in another long line of Duke guys who annoy the heck out of everybody.
But, you know, I think every team needs that person. And looks, the Detroit Pistons were loaded. They were a team of those guys, which I think, of course, they had mad skills too. But you also had a team that really lived by that kind of a measure. And that's kind of what I liked about them, because they were a no-take-crap kind of team. And you're not going to come inside without getting hit.
Well, here's the thing, that the way it's almost tough to make a comparison, because the game and the rules are so different, and the game is officiated so differently now than it was then. Like, if teams had to go from now back to then, they probably wouldn't score 50 points against the Pistons because of the way they were allowed to defend.
Right.
That being said, if the Pistons came into this market or this era, they'd foul out in 5 minutes, you know. So, you know, and Sal, you remember the 80s? I mean, there were fouls that were taken that were common fouls then that would get suspended for 3 games if they did it now. That's just how the game was officiated.
But I like the fact that the refs let them play. Mm-hmm. It's like, look, it's a game. Get out there, mix it up a little bit. Just don't get into fist fights, but just go fight for your space, so to say. And I love the fact that even the guys that were moving without the ball, they were still getting in the faces of everybody else, but not to the point where they're completely interfering, right? So that, you know, there's a foul away from the ball. But I love the physicality of it. You know, I had a conversation with Gary Payton about this a few years back. And so this was kind of fun. And, you know, one time, I got to tell you this was a fun story. So Gary was playing back in the day with the Supersonics. And I went to a Lakers game, and I happened to bring my nephew to his first game. And he was, I don't know, he's probably about maybe 10 years old, 11 years old, something like that. And we sat about 10 rows off the floor, sort of by the middle of the court, right? So in between the 2 benches, we had great seats. And then Gary, of course, you know, he talked a lot. Everybody knows he kind of talked a lot, right? That was his thing. And so what I did, because as a fan, as a big mouth fan, I'm the guy that can be heard literally outside the stadium. It's ridiculous. You can hear me on TV, but everything clean. And so I went after Gary just in verbal, friendly, of course, verbal attacks. And it was in between there's a TV timeout. And I had said something to him. I forget what it was. I don't even remember, but I'll tell you this much. I stood up at my seat, and he was stupid enough to pay attention to me, first of all. And worse, I got out into the aisle. I was the second seat over. I got out into the aisle, and I'm doing this. I'm talking again. Everybody watching on TV, I'm lip flapping. And I'm really, really antagonizing. My dad always called me an instigator and antagonizer. And so, but I always had the strength to back it up. I didn't care. Anyway, so what Gary does is Gary actually walks over towards the aisle like an idiot. Everybody on his team said, stop paying attention to that guy. And then I took a few steps down, about 3 or 4 rows, and like an idiot, he walks closer to the aisle on top of it. I mean, this is getting ridiculous, right? And so finally, cooler heads prevail, whatever. The usher tells me to go back to my seat. I tell him to go somewhere, whatever. But I said it in a very nice way. And then years later, I had a talk with Gary, just a few years ago. And he goes, "Boy, you look really familiar. you look familiar. I can't place you." I said, "Let me help you out." And so I replayed the scenario. He goes, "That was you?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was me." That was me. And, Gary in real life's about an inch taller than me. I didn't realize he was like 6'2". But nonetheless, he's a pretty strong guy anyway. But I respected Gary's game so much that I had to get on him. But the funny thing was, talking to this guy, he said the same thing, because I had said something about a physical play. He said, look, these kids today, they could never make it in our game. He said there's no way Curry would be scoring 50 and shooting from 40 feet out, whatever. He'd have to shoot from half court because there would be somebody like me in his pocket all the time. And so Gary made that point, exactly what you're talking about. That's where I was going with this.
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, when you said cooler heads prevailed in this thing, I knew you weren't one of them, since you were. And I don't know if the average or if the fan understands this, but I mean, and it's a very hard and fast rule in the NBA. You go into the stands like Rodman did up in Detroit, you're gone for a while. You come onto the court, you are fair game. Anybody who's so I'm glad you didn't go down to the court. Things might have escalated.
I know. Good stuff. All right, folks, we're going to be back here on the Circus in just a few minutes with the Hall of Famer Mike Juminski. Don't go
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. Again, that's 800-361-3491.
So, you want to be in show business. Do people tell you that you're really funny, you have a great personality, and you should have your own talk show? Many of us have been told that, but we don't know how to get started. It's easier than you think. Let the pros at Cali Vegas give you a free talent evaluation. Call 949-445-1119 and learn how quickly you can create, produce, and host your very own talk show. Imagine not having to sit in traffic every day, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job. Get started in television or radio today with your free talent evaluation from Cali Vegas. Call 949-445-1119 or visit them online at calivegas.com. Make your dream come true today and create your new career and learn how to become a television or radio star with the help of Cali Vegas. 949-445-1119. Call now.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. Stands for All Ages Media Programming. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow AAMP.tv when you get there. If you're watching over on AMP TV, or of course you could be watching on hotel television in, over 200 markets across the United States in over 500,000 rooms, or you could also be watching on Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, and Wild Cable affiliates. And also, if you're listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, thanks for joining us. We're here with the Hall of Famer, Mike Jaminski. And Mike, look, we can talk basketball stuff until the cows come home. And, those cows ain't never coming home, if you know what I mean.
No. They're out there for a while. They never seem to come home, Sal, ever.
They never seem to come home unless they come home through uppercut chops, right? Because then again, if they come home through uppercut chops, something tells me they're going to end up on the dinner table. By the way, when's the last time you had yourself a nice big steak?
Well, it's been a while. With inflation, the cost of steaks has gone up dramatically. But I do love a good steak for sure.
Well, when you come out to Las Vegas, we'll see if we can hook you up with one of those big old cowboys, because something tells me you could probably eat a little bit more than a little 6-ounce filet.
I tell you, now at this point in my life, Sal, my appetite has calmed down dramatically. Now, there was a time when I was in the league playing that I could eat anything you put in front of me. But I did a little bit of that after I retired. Things started to get a little out of shape around my waist, so I had to dial it back down a little bit.
Yesterday I had a 3-pound tomahawk ribeye. It was unbelievable. It was ridiculous. If you look on my Facebook page, on my story, you'll see this ridiculous tomahawk, and then I had a whole bunch of jumbo, those colossal shrimp with it, and a big old Eric Horn. I'm still not hungry. I don't think I'll be hungry until, sometime next week. It was a lot of food. But it was awfully good, though.
Did you eat the whole steak?
Oh, yeah.
Ate the whole steak. Wow.
Dude, I ate the 72-ounce steak at the Big Texan over in Amarillo, Texas. If you eat it, you get it for free. It's $100 otherwise. I ate it 2 times. Yes, 2 times.
I can feel your arteries hardening up just hearing you talk about that. Wow, that's impressive. We got to get you into competitive eating somehow. I think you'd be right there.
My brother does that. My brother is one of those competitive eaters. He'll eat like the big pizzas, the big burritos, the blazing hot, boiling bowl of soup. I remember he did that in Little Tokyo in LA. I thought he was going to die outside. I thought he was going to have a freaking heart attack because it was so hot. It was that hot. He was literally laying down on a bench it was really a concrete slab outside the Japanese restaurant after eating this thing. And wow, he was in trouble. But he's one of those competitive eaters. For me, I don't eat for sport. I just eat because I'm a pig. So when it comes to sushi, I can really put it away.
Yeah, well, it's obviously genetically you're inclined to do it. And it doesn't sound like it would take a lot to twist your arm to get in training for this. Now, think about the reps that you have to do to get ready for a competition.
Well, look, if it's training for all the sushi I can eat, the prices should go up when I show up, if you know what I mean.
Well, now are you eating it with the chopsticks or just picking it up with your fingers? See, you got to have a little you got to have a little dexterity, especially in a competitive eating thing.
If it's competitive, you have to use your hands, and just your hands turn into steam shovels, right? And they just start pulling the food towards you. But no, I use chopsticks when I go to a Japanese or Chinese restaurant, or Thai.
I enjoy sushi as well, so you and I will get along famously. However, I don't see myself getting that steak for free. That might feed me for a week.
It would feed most families of 4 for a week, if you know what I mean.
There you go.
But, it's not that I go through Amarillo, Texas on a regular basis. Last time I went through it was in April of 2021. That was the last time I went through Amarillo. It's a great place. It's a destination.
Well, accomplishing that, do they put a picture of you up or your name or something? Nothing for doing that?
You get it for free and you get a T-shirt.
Okay.
Yeah, but the place is actually pretty exciting. It's fun. It's like a food theme park. Probably the best way to say it.
All right, here's the big question. Did you have dessert afterward?
Oh, that's part of it, because you have to have the salad. The baked potato is like a football. You've got to eat the baked potato, and you have to eat the fat as well.
I bet you that. I mean, you talk about 100. I bet you now it may be $200.
Well, Mike, the trick is don't drink too much. Do not drink too much because your stomach will get full, and that's it.
Well, but then you watch the hot dog eating guys. I mean, they're like mashing the bun up, and then they're drinking water, and then they're eating the hot dog. So water is a big part of, I guess, breaking down the bun is what they're trying to do.
Yeah, we had Mickey Sudo, the 5-time mustard belt champion, on the Sports Circus not too long ago, and she said that she actually practices. I remember this was probably in late June, whatever. And she said she had to hurry up and get home because she doesn't want to be late for practice. I'm like, what do you mean practice? She goes, well, one of my competitor friends and I, we cook up 80 hot dogs and try to eat them in 10 minutes. 80 hot dogs.
Stop it.
80.
Stop it. Stop it.
Hey, well, that's that. I just assumed that there was a training regimen that they had to go through, and
that's it.
Your stomach's cruising along, and then all of a sudden you can't just jam, all those hot dogs into it. You got to have some sort of build up to it, I would imagine, and then you have to guard against the reversal of fortune on the other end.
Well, I asked her. I said, Mickey, when you go out on a date, because she's just a petite little girl, and you'd never know. Can you imagine? I said, have you ever gone to a buffet and then right when you're in line, they close the buffet?
Yeah, with her picture up there saying, and then or she's looking over at her date's plate saying, "Are you going to finish that? How about that baked potato? What about that?"
Oh man, could she pack it in? But I asked her. I said, "Do you ever go bananas at a buffet?" She goes, "No, I just eat normally." And she works. I think she's a bartender or waitress or whatever. And I'm like, how do you get yourself up for this? She said, well, the same way an athlete gets himself up for playing in a pro basketball game or a football game or whatever. But she has a training regimen too. But they start their training about 2 weeks before the event.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine afterward there's a little bit of a decompression time to kind of let your body assimilate everything or however it does. And, but that, for whatever reason, I whenever that's on, especially out at the Coney Island one, I guess that was the first really big televised event with Nathan's. And actually, because of that, when I go to the grocery store, Nathan's is the only type of hot dog that I buy.
Really?
Yeah,
you got sucked in.
Yeah, absolutely. I got pulled all in.
Oh, wow. But see, for me, I grew up eating Vienna hot dogs because they're made in Chicago. And the Vienna hot dogs, I still believe, are the best hot dogs out there. But the Nathan's hot dogs are okay, but you can't cook them necessarily the same way. You almost have to put them on a flat top and kind of crisp them up a little bit.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to do a little taste study between those two and just see where I fall on that, because I'm not the aficionado on that. So I'm willing to give other people a try.
I got one for you. So you played in Philadelphia for a bunch of years. And of course, you had played some games in Chicago. So you got your cheesesteak in Philadelphia versus the Italian beef in Chicago. What do you think?
I'm loyal to my Philadelphia time. So, I got to go with Philly in that. Hey, and you know what? I've been booed in Philadelphia too, so that doesn't bother me.
Hey, listen, you and Santa Claus are in the same category because they booed Santa Claus too.
Everybody. I mean, You know what? With this latest trade, I've talked to a couple people in Philly. I want tickets when the Nets come to Philly for the first time with that Harden-Simmons trade. I want to be there for that to see how Philly treats Ben Simmons.
I'm sure you could probably get in from either team since you played with both teams.
I'm an alum of both of them, but that is going to be great theater to see how they receive Ben Simmons.
I know that is going to be something. And you know what? In the next segment, let's talk a little bit more about all the trades and some of the head scratchers that happen around the league too. Because some of those I gotta tell you, I don't get it. But then again, it's above my pay grade. Apparently, everything is above my pay grade. So when we come back with the Hall of Famer Mike Cheminsky, we're going to talk a little bit of NBA trades and the long-term and short-term impact of those deals. Back here in a few minutes on the Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
You don't sit behind a desk every day to earn a living. You're out and about making it happen. And sometimes you get a little bit behind on your paperwork, like bookkeeping and paying your taxes. It's easy to get behind on paying your taxes. It happens to the best of us. And you know what happens next. The big bad IRS comes knocking on your door. And when that happens, you need to call the good old boys at the Tax Doctor. Let them do what they do best. Deal and negotiate with the IRS so you pay the lowest you can in back taxes that the law allows. We are a 100% U.S.-based company, and we've saved our clients millions over the years in back taxes. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call my friends right now at the Tax Doctor and learn more.
800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. 800-989-1694. That's 800-989-1694.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. 800-361-3491. Again, that's 800-361-3491.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pouty Arco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system. And it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit bestsupertea.com. The first word is best, spelled B-E-S-T, then the word super, then the word tea. The complete website is bestsupertea.com, or call us at 818-274-8270, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-274-8270, bestsupertea.com.
the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP TV. This segment brought to you in part by Kelly Vegas, helping people create and host their very own radio, TV, or multimedia talk show. Kelly Vegas can help with everything they need to get out of sitting in hours of traffic, commuting back and forth to the same old boring job, and host their very own talk show in their very own home studio. For more information, contact Kelly Vegas at 949-445-1119. That's 949-445-1119. Again, 949-445-1119. Or visit online for more information at www.kellyvegas.com. That's CALI Vegas.com. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliate from coast to coast. Big hello to our friends down in Louisiana, Mississippi, listening in on 107.1 The River out of Natchez, Mississippi. That's Mid-South Broadcasting. Thanks for helping us out over there. And also our friends right here in Las Vegas, right on the corner from the Fremont Street Experience in downtown Las Vegas, KIOF 97.9 FM, and everybody else. You know who you are, even those listening in on the Mars rover. Back here with the Hall of Famer, that would be Mike Cheminsky, who knows how to land a punch every now and then, too. Isn't that right, Mike?
You're taking me back to an exhibition game. The only fight I ever got in exhibition game against Detroit up in Toronto before they had the Raptors. This was to kind of gauge the interest. And of course, Detroit, right there, just very close. And so we got into a little scrum, James Edwards and I. He slapped me, I punched him, broken up. And actually, I think the Toronto fans appreciated it, reminded them of hockey. And we got a standing ovation when we were escorted off the court.
Oh, that's good stuff. Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with a little physical play. I'm okay with that. But when someone takes a cheap shot, well, just like in hockey, the goons come out if you start hitting the little guys. Well, the goons are going to take care of the goons.
Yeah, and, the thing is, like a guy like Wayne Gretzky always had somebody on the ice who was going to protect him because he wasn't the biggest guy in the world. Now, he was extremely difficult to hit, but he always had protection for sure.
Yeah, I mean, holding on to him was like trying to hold on to a Jell-O with chopsticks. I mean, it's very difficult to lasso that guy. He's very elusive.
Yeah, and then, you have those teams like Boston and Philly that are always very physical teams. And even now the NHL, with a lot of with the rules changes, they've seen it's a lot more like European hockey, it seems to me, just more wide open, more free skating than it used to be. And I think in the Boston Garden, that rink actually was smaller than the average rink. And they used to get, they got big physical guys and they sent you into the boards.
Well, you know what? They haven't changed the rink size. Just the stadium's got bigger, so the ice looks bigger. And I grew up with the Chicago Stadium, and so the stadium looked like a very, very small venue. Which, you were right on top of the action, just like at the Boston Garden, right? And then, of course, with the new version of the Boston Garden, it's a little bit different. I've been in that stadium. I think they call it the TD Arena or something or another. I don't know if it's still the same name because the sponsors, they change all the time. But nonetheless, that was a very nice stadium, and I had the nosebleed seats to go see my beloved Blackhawks play an original six matchup with the Bruins. And, of course, the Blackhawks come out on top. Yes, very exciting. But nonetheless, there were plenty of fights in the seats as well as on the ice.
Were you wearing your Stan Mikita jersey, sweater to that? Just an homage to the old Blackhawk teams. I'll tell you, but I played in the old Chicago Stadium for the 3 years before Michael got there, and they'd get 1,500 people in the stands. It was freezing in there, sitting on the ice. We used to have to put towels over ourselves to stay warm. And then when number 23 showed up, sold out, loudest place I've ever played in, and that continued over to United Center.
Yeah, and that's why even after they tore down the old Chicago Stadium, there's still all kinds of pictures and T-shirts and hats, whatever, saying "Remember the Roar" from the Madhouse on Madison. And it's still very loud in that stadium.
Well, I remember my first trip there. and Maurice Lucas was on the nets, and he was the guy who took me under his wing and really taught me how to play the pro game. And we got on the bus. We stayed in on the Miracle Mile, and we get on the bus and we're driving out to the old Chicago Stadium, and I'm looking at the neighborhood, and it's deteriorating. I look at Luke, and I said, "Where are we going?" And he said, "We're going out to the stadium." I'm like, "Okay." And then we pulled up in front of it, and I said, "What's this?" And he goes, "That's the stadium." I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but you get inside, and it was, after Michael got there, it was awesome. And that really kind of forced their hand, I think, to have them move and build a new place.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the stadiums have gone through a similar thing. We saw this even in Buffalo with the old auditorium there, right? The old Odd. Yeah. So, after, the Odd, that was one of those places they had an HVAC system issue seemingly on a regular basis, and they could never seem to get it right. But, over time, they've got themselves a really nice stadium there. And, the team can't win because they just, from a management standpoint, they just keep making blunder after blunder. But I think every city goes through it. And we think of the older barns in today's time, and they're not that old. You start thinking of, which ones are the oldest? So go back to maybe Madison Square Garden's one of the oldest in the business now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of when that last. I think it got a facelift about 4 years ago. I think
it's the original building. Yeah, the original.
Yeah, but
building.
it was. Yeah, but it's a lot of most of everything they tweaked was on the interior. So that was a little different. And I'm just trying to go over them in my head right now. What should everybody's really, with the Nets moving over to Brooklyn, I'm just kind of in the Atlantic Division right now. Philly's got their buildings got some years on it. It seems like 20 to 30 years is about the shelf life for a lot of these places before they start looking to either redo them completely or put up a new building.
Isn't that amazing? You think of the money to build a new one, right? I'm talking from ground up, owning the ground all the way through. It is an immense, massive expense. And you think of these stadiums, you're like, geez, they just keep building. Look at football, $5 billion to build the stadium in Los Angeles for the Chargers and Rams. And by the way, in case you're keeping score, Aaron Donald was offsides on the final play that Cincinnati had the ball, which would have given Cincinnati a first down, by the way. And of course, Cincinnati's got a great kicker. Cincinnati was robbed of that Super Bowl, in case you're keeping score.
I did not keep score. I watched the game. I didn't see it. I saw Burrow try to make a play, and then throwing it when he was basically on his back on that last play. I tell you what, though, Sal, for that, they better get that guy some offensive linemen.
Yeah,
because he took a beating in that game. He's taken a beating for 2 years, and he's going to wind up shell-shocked like Carr did down with the Texans if they're not careful.
Well, in the same way that Joe Willie did.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, Joe took a big beating with those New York Jets, and it almost didn't matter who he was trying to be protected against. They couldn't protect him. Everybody gave him their best game.
And he probably had better linemen down in Alabama than he did with the Jets.
Oh, no question. No question he did. But it's nice to see Joe, getting his spots on TV still. He's one of those guys that he's like a timeless figure. And I'm sure, basketball has those same guys. They're timeless people in basketball. Who are the top 3 timeless guys in basketball that are still doing it? I got one of them. I'm going to throw Bill Walton out there. Give me 2 more.
Oh, boy. Caught me. Who are still
in the public eye.
The public eye. Well, Michael, for obvious reasons. And,
right.
And a lot of that is, he's still doing marketing, still doing commercials.
Go before Michael.
Oh, let's see. Before Michael, wow. It's, Walton. Can't come up with anybody off the top of my head right now. Although I do want to say one thing when you touched on Namath, that I respect him. He's gone through the same things I have. And he had a real problem with alcohol, and he's gotten himself cleaned up, and he's gotten himself on a great track, which is allowing him to be relevant now. I mean, there was that scene with him on the sidelines with Susie Colbert, and
Right.
the whole country saw it. And now he's gone through that, and I'm really happy for him.
Yeah. Joe is really turned it around, and I think he's good for professional sports, because whether you're football, baseball, basketball, hockey, tennis, golf, I think the whole world knows Joe Namath, and they knew him back in the 1970s, and they never forgot him.
Yeah, I mean, just, when you're that, talk about the perfect storm, Sal. That era, New York City, Joe Namath, Bachelor. It was just only he could get away with doing the Hanes commercial with the stockings, and it was the perfect storm of athlete and city, and he won, and he backed it up with, at a time when the AFC or AFL was trying to become relevant, and here they get Joe Namath.
Yeah, it was a glorious matchup. I think Joe did so much for sports that a lot of people don't really realize, and it still carries on today. He really opened it up for, hey, I want to be me. I'm going to do me. You do you, I do me. And that's kind of how they say it in today's time.
Well, and it's okay. You want to talk about another athlete? Now, this is probably localized to the New York metropolitan area. Walt Frazier, who has been doing Knick games forever. Looks like he wears the same suits that he did back in the 70s when he was playing there. But the same type of personality, not quite as flamboyant, but the way he dressed certainly was.
Not Craig Sager type of coats.
Yeah, well, not that, but just the flashy colors and the big heels and, everything that was about the 70s. But he was, I love those teams. And, Willis Reed was not like that. DeBusschere wasn't like that. Bradley certainly wasn't like that. But Clyde was the one. He was on the vanguard of style.
Did you have platform shoes in the 70s?
I had trouble finding any size 15 shoe. I mean, I wore my tennis shoes most of the time. So now you can find size. You can go on Amazon. You can find hundreds of shoes size 15. Back in the 70s, not so much. I could never be a slave to fashion.
That's funny stuff. I mean, I can understand that. Yeah, I had big feet when I was a kid. My mom used to say, "Oh, bring out these shoes," and the lady would say, "What size?" "Oh, bring in the shoe box." Right? It was embarrassing, but anyway, that's that. All right, thanks for joining us. The Hall of Famer Mike Jaminski. Nice round of applause for Mike. First, he's our regular basketball and regular guy over here, and we'll see him again. We'll see everybody else in 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you start up with capital, business strategy, sales, and marketing, and establish your company with a physical location or an online presence on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. Then American Business Trust can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's abtrustco.com. Or call them at 657-600-1876. That's American Business Trust Company. 657-600-1876. Call them today. They'll help your business right away. That's American Business Trust Company. Online at abtrustco.com. American Business Trust Company.